Okay, time now to take a look at what's making headlines in the French press. And joining me in the studio is Haxi Myers-Belkin. Good morning, Haxi.
Hi,
Good to
Rita.
see you. Now, of course, there's only really one story today that's dominating headlines, and that is French President François Hollande will not be standing for re-election.
Yes, and as you can imagine, the front pages have been having a field day. Let's start with left-wing paper Libération. Their headline here reads "Sans moi," without me, alongside a rather sombre image of the outgoing socialist president. His head is bowed and his back is turned. On the other side of the political spectrum, Le Figaro is leading with a still of the president's announcement on Thursday on live television, one in which he looks more than a little crestfallen. The caption is simply "La fin," the end.
Okay, and there's a damning editorial that appears on the front page too.
Yes, under the headline, "The President Who Wasn't Really a President," this piece sees a lost opportunity in the way Hollande announced that he wouldn't be running in 2017. Instead of trying to pass on some sort of ideological flame or trying to rally up an optimistic vision of the French left, Hollande, we read here, opted for underwhelming self-justification. The author describes last night's address as a sad epilogue to a sorry term, so certainly not mincing their words there.
Wow, not holding back. Tell us what you really think. Libération, however, is giving the socialist leader's announcement a warmer appraisal.
Yes, a very different tone here. This piece is headlined elegance. We read here that if Hollande had decided to run, the French left would have been thrown into complete disarray, and that by pulling out of the race, Hollande has avoided a, quote, bitter and cruel fight. The article goes on to say that it's rare to find politicians so lucid that they're willing to give up their personal political ambitions for the greater good.
Okay, Haxi, let's go back to Le Parisien, which is looking at what caused Hollande's record unpopularity. His approval ratings have plunged to around 4%.
He hung himself with his own rope, reads this uncompromising headline. It reminds us that Hollande has always promised that he wouldn't run for a second term if he didn't succeed in significantly lowering the rate of unemployment. Mm-hmm. We read here that while the number of unemployed people is now starting to go down, it's quite simply too little too late.
Okay, well, you found another piece in the paper that delves a little deeper into just how unusual Hollande's approach to the decision was.
No one saw this coming, we read here. And even yesterday I was here in this studio saying that quoting sources who were saying that he absolutely was going to run. So not even Hollande's closest political allies were informed of his historic decision before he announced it on live TV. This piece also notes that Hollande didn't name a successor during his announcement. One of Hollande's allies is quoted here as saying that Hollande wasn't going to pass the baton on to the man who's crucified him. That man being, of course, as you mentioned earlier, Prime Minister Manuel Valls.
Manuel Valls, of course, a name that's been bandied about as a possible next president, and you found a piece in Slate that analyses his role in all of this.
Yes, Slate reminds us that usually a Prime Minister's job is to protect the President, to shield him from attack. But Manuel Valls, we read here, has not followed that model. By announcing that he was ready to step in should Hollande decide to step down, Valls was, we read here, presenting Hollande with a thinly veiled threat. This article argues that by leaving the field free for Valls, Hollande has done nothing less than avoid a constitutional crisis.
Okay, Haxi, thank you very much for that. Haxi Myers-Belkin there with the French Press Review. Stay with us.